And we are following breaking news. We are following a chase right now involving OHP troopers. You can see this high-speed chase down I-44 near the Amarillo Junction.
Jim is over ahead. Jim, this has just been going on for the last few minutes. This guy's booking it.
Well, that's right. We were in pursuit of, we'll see, coming out of the trees right there. He went off. Looks like somebody went off the road right there. We're catching up to him. We just passed south. We're coming up on Southwest 82nd, going southbound on I-44 here, where OHP's been in a high-speed pursuit of this vehicle for quite some time here. They've reached speeds over 100 miles an hour here. As we come up on it here, you can see he's on the shoulder right now. Now, we had reports that it was a Tahoe, but that doesn't look to be a Tahoe. Like I said, they're running really fast here. We are just now passing Southwest 89th, southbound on I-44. We should catch up with them here shortly and get you a better picture of what's going on. Right now, I don't have any information of why are they pursuing this car at the time, but like I said, OHP is in pursuit of that white car you see right there going southbound on I-44, which basically would be west I-44. We're just past Southwest 104th Street now. The helicopter has. They're still way up in front of us right now, running on the shoulder, very dangerous right now, but OHP, you can see the OHP SUV behind that white vehicle being pursued. Now there you can see Southwest 134th in your picture. He's just past that, still on the shoulder, southbound on I-44 here. As soon as we get caught up here, I'm going to have to go back to the Will Rogers Tower here to clear, because we'll be crossing the extended center line of the runway here in a minute as 44 kind of bends over to the west, so I have to get in touch with them. Back to you.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much. And just to put this into perspective, Jim is in the fastest chopper in this market, and he's having trouble keeping up with this high-speed pursuit involving OHP and that white vehicle. We're told it's a Mercedes of some sort, but we still have no idea why they're chasing him.
No, and it looks like he is increasing, and at Southwest 149th, and look at this. I mean, we're getting ready to enter the drive time home. This is a major thoroughfare, I-44. It looks like he's headed, into the Tri-Cities area. If you were getting ready to kind of move into the H.E. Bailey Turnpike going into Lawton, it looks like that he's coming up on the big bridge there on the south side of Oklahoma City. And now the lanes are opening up just a little bit. Earlier, as we were watching, as this pursuit just started, it looked like one car might have been run off the road. But here's the bridge on the south side of the metro. And it looks like the highway patrol car.
OHP trooper car.
Oh, he blew a tire out. The trooper car blew a tire out. That is not good news. Let's see if he...
Right, the OHP SUV just lost a tire. Now, right now, we're about a mile behind this car. Hang on, just what...
All right, Jim, I know you're talking to the air traffic controller because of the Will Rogers airport traffic, but the shot is still on this guy.
Will Rogers airspace, so we can...
That's right.
Oh, and he just exited off.
He almost lost it on the off-ramp right there.
That's going into the tunnel. Oh, my goodness. One, two, three.
He rolled.
He's rolled 4 times.
Oh, he rolled right there. That's going to be...
oh, goodness.
We got 2 police cars over to the shoulder here. Okay, we're going to be rolling up on this pretty quick.
Oh, goodness. He took that
pretty quick here, so we'll find out
very high speed.
Exactly what happened here.
He was traveling at a high rate of speed and took that 108 exit,
come around pretty hard,
which goes into that Tri-City area. Just hang with us. Our signal is going to be coming back as we follow this breaking news.
Just stay with him, Ben. Just stay with him.
Oh, he got out.
He got out and he's running now.
Goodness.
The suspect is running. He's crossing
Where is that?
We got people standing out behind her house. This is not good. This is not good.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, he's right behind the business there. We got an OHP SUV.
He's closing in on him.
It appears to be a woman. It appears to be a woman that's running here. She's trying to, the trooper's going to apprehend her right here.
All right.
Right behind the fence here.
They got her.
Oh, that's good. I don't know if this person's armed or what she had or whatever, but right now we are sitting right here. It's going to be basically it's going to be northwest 32nd Street, or northeast 34th Street, around in that area. This off-ramp looked like going towards Tuttle. This is going to be another one, David, that is falling south of Northeast 12th. So, oh my gosh, stuff's going off through here like crazy.
Yeah, we will. Okay,
and it's moving south. It appears to be kind of moving south, David.
Okay, it is. It's moving southeast. Okay, let's go to Storm Shield 9. Let's go to Storm Shield 9. Oh my gosh, look at the debris here, folks. Okay, again, everybody and more. It's getting stronger. Everybody and more. My goodness. Look, folks, everybody and more. Go to tornado emergency for more. Tornado emergency for more. There's the water tower. There's I-35. Okay, let's back out. Let's take Jim's shot. We've got a lot of power flashes going on. It's going through neighborhoods. It's going through neighborhoods. Let's go to velocity mode. Let's keep Jim shot up. Okay. Quickly, switch these images here. Go to velocity mode. Tornado and more. Tornado emergency for more. Tornado on the ground in more, doing damage. Tornado and more right now doing damage. And again, circulation now. It's basic. Okay, say that again, Lacey. Santa Fe and Southwest 134th. Okay, if this screen were a little bigger, I could read that. Southwest 134th and Santa Fe. Basically, it's going to be just south of Highland West Junior High School and Plaza Towers Elementary School. Plaza Towers Elementary School is where the tornado is going to go right over.
This is absolutely crazy.
Okay, it's moving southeast. Hey, guys, loop this for me. Let's loop this to show the viewers at home. All right, let's show the viewers at home. It's still moving easterly. It's swinging through. It was moving southeast. Now it's moving more easterly. So, again, if you live in Moore, Central Moore, East Moore, it's a tornado emergency for you. You have to get to your safe spot. Look at the shear. Look at where it is. Look at the shear rate going on right now. It is really ramped up now. And, again, Jim has it just west of I-35. It's now approaching I-35, it looks like, or might have even actually crossed over. Let's take Jim's shot, full screen one more time. And again, there's Southwest 4th Street and more, Southeast 19th Street.
Shooting back to the west.
There's I-35 right there. Let's go back. And power flashes continue. The tornado continues on the ground. Tornado continues on the ground in more. Jim, go ahead.
So it looks like 4th Street across I-35 seems to be just in the area where this thing crossed, and that would be just to the north, less than a half a mile to the north of the Warren Theater. Now, Justin Doherty is at Southwest 4th and I-35 right now. I think he can join us. Justin?
We're on I-35 near Southeast 4th Street, and right now we just spoke with OHP officers, and EMSA is arriving to a scene where a semi has overturned and also a pickup truck is on its hood. And we spoke with OHP, and they said this is all weather related. They said the wind has picked up this semi and picked up this truck and flipped it, the semi on its side and the pickup on its hood. Now, they did say that, hey, they haven't had much other reports of damage besides wind damage, but as far as structure damage, they have not heard much. But they did say this accident right here on I-35 and Southeast 4th Street in Moore is weather related. So we will continue to monitor this scene. EMSA did just arrive right now. No word yet on the drivers, but OHP is here and so is EMSA. And again, we are on I-35 near Southeast 4th Street in Moore. Reporting live, Justin Doherty, News 9.
Yeah, Jolene, we are here on Rockwell Avenue, very near Northwest 10th Street. In fact, the intersection we're at right now is Northwest 7th and Rockwell Avenue. As you can see behind me, we have a lot of damage from where this storm started. We've got tree limbs down. We have trees that have been actually split in two. We see lots of fences that are down, you can see here. But take a look up there. You see that aluminum up in the trees? That was actually someone's carport. And the wind or small tornado picked that thing up, ripped it apart, and threw it up into the air, and that is what is left of that. In fact, I talked to the homeowner who said he had just put that in a year ago. It had just been painted. It was very sturdy. It's up there right now.
Let's go to Hank. Hank, give us an update. Go ahead.
David, we've got a funnel I-35 about Tecumseh Road, maybe just a little bit east. The rotation has really started to crank up again. It's going to be pretty close to Solomon Robb, actually. It's going to be right on Tecumseh Road, and now it's starting to wrap up and rain a little bit, but we saw a funnel come about halfway to the ground. The whole wall cloud is starting to pick up rotation again. I'm sitting south of it a little bit at Lindsay, I-35 and Lindsay, and my inflow winds are just screaming from the south straight into this storm. So it looks like it's cycling up again. It looks like it's going to produce a tornado momentarily, David.
Okay, all right, great job, Hank. Let's go to Jim Gardner. Jim, you got power flashes. Go ahead, take it, go.
That's right, David. We had several power flashes as it crossed Rock Creek Road there. You see, there's another one right there. You can see the cars right there. Now you see another power flash to the north of where that is. So there's some heavy circulation going on in there. That's Rock Creek Road you're seeing right there with the car lights. To the left center of your screen,
tornado on the ground.
You can see the power flashes going on right now. You can see the tornadoes tracking north of Rock Creek Road right now. The huge power flash right there. It is on the ground again, David. It is moving towards the Moore area at this time. Like I said, I just passed Rock Creek. I'm east of Max Westheimer Airport. Look at it again. I'm just reliving this all over again from just not too long ago. This is just incredible that this is going on again, David.
Right. I'm with you, brother. I hear you. I know. I know. I can't believe we're here doing this again. Okay, tornado on the ground now. This is going to be in northwest Norman. The tornado there is on the ground. The condensate not all the way. We got power flashes. Power flashes. This is doing damage now. This is going to be doing damage in Westmore and in West Norman, and eventually pushing into Moore, South Moore and Southeast Moore. The tornado is on the ground. You can see the winds beginning to pick up. This is an area that I was really worried about. And here we go again. Tornado, power flashes, power flash there. There's the cone. There's the backside of the cone. This is going to be a fairly large, wide tornado. Condensate getting lower. Condensate getting lower. It's going to fill in. Tornado continues on the ground. Another tornado on the ground in Norman, West Norman, Northwest Norman, coming into southern and eastern sides of Moore. Tornado emergency. We'll say it again. If you live in West and North Norman, if you live in South and East Moore, tornado emergency. You need to go to your safe spot right now. You cannot mess around with this. You got to go to your safe spot right now. There's the right side of the tornado. There's the left side. It's an ugly tornado. It's ugly. It's got all kinds of, it's not condensate or cloud all the way to the ground, but this thing is doing some damage down in Westmore. Go ahead, Lacey.
The center of circulation is on Rock Creek and 36th Avenue. That's about a half a mile to the west of I-35.
Okay, right. It's about ready to cross I-35 down in Norman. There's the right side of the tornado. There's the left side. Okay, let's leave this for a second. We know it's on the ground. Power flashes. It's getting stronger. We're seeing more power flashes. There. Let's go back to a storm shield. This is exactly where the tornado is. This is the only product you'll see only on News 9 right here in Oklahoma City. There it is, west Tecumseh Road, 36th Street. That's that northwest 36th Street and west Tecumseh Road. There's I-35. That's the tornado. That's the tornado right there crossing I-35. That's what we call shear rate. And again, that's where the tornado is. You can't see it any clearer than that. Tornado on the ground right now in Westmore. Tornado on the ground. For eastern Caddo County, we've got flooding going on down in Moore. We've got damage in Bridge Creek, heavy damage to the fire department. We've got damage down in Norman, and it's a mess. It's a mess. We have been hit hard today. We have been hit hard today, and it's not over. It's not over, okay? By the way, let me just point out, this is the dumbest thing ever, okay? Do not do that. Do not do that. More people lose their lives every year to flooding versus any other weather event. It's that. It's people not thinking, I got to get home. I get it. Drive around a mile to get out of that. Don't do that. That's just not thinking. And I know they're going to be fine probably, but don't do that. Don't drive through water. Turn around, don't drown. I can't say it enough. Okay, so area of spin now coming into Tinker Air Force Base. It's lifting north. Looks like it's weakened some, but it's still there nonetheless, and it's going to be right here. So tornado warning continues for Tinker Air Force Base proper, for Del City, for Midwest City. Midwest City, tornado warning there going on.
This is a live shot. This used to be the Holiday Inn, the old Holiday Inn, you might know it as. This is the Norman Hotel. That's right down there in Norman, and you can see the damage off the side of the building right there.
We mentioned as the storm was moving through Norman that there was a lot of flooding going on down there. In fact, we heard a high water rescue going on. This was in the area of 34th and Telephone Road, and our Jessica Holly is there with the update from that scene. Jess?
You can see behind me there is lots of flooding in this area. We've seen many cars trying to go through these flooded areas, but it is simply not the right decision. You know, that is always been told, you know, stop, don't go there, turn around. This is Southwest 34th, and ahead of me is Santa Fe. As you can see, this road is completely blocked. My photographer and I are actually trying to make our way to Norman, but we keep finding roads that are flooded. Also ahead of me, Telephone Road, Southwest 34th, near the Baptist College that's right over there in that area, also shut down. We're also seeing a lot of this flooding come right up to people's homes, but thankfully we've not actually seen it go into homes. And then over by 35, you probably saw our shot earlier, 35 south, just south of Southwest 19th, is down to one lane. The access road completely flooded. A lot of those businesses over there near the Daisy Exchange and the bagel shop completely flooded. So just be very cautious if you're going to be out on the roads. Reporting live in Norman, Jessica Hawley, News 9.
You know, some believe Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh's motivation lies in what happened 2 years earlier at the Branch Davidian compound in Waco.
But could anyone have known his plans for the bombing?
Well, that is a question that haunts many of us, including the woman who ran a daycare inside the federal building.
She tells her story for the first time on TV to News 9's Robin Marsh.
Just like today. It was a beautiful day, normal day. The kids were running in the daycare. Everybody was in the daycare in Choctaw. Everybody was having fun. I just got off the phone from Dana. Knew there were 21 kids in the daycare. She was excited about the day. We just talked, as we always did. Hung up the phone to do payroll. Next thing I knew, little faces kind of flash in front of you.
A caregiver at heart.
This is the one I got the phone call on.
Meet Melva Noakes. The morning of April 19th, 1995 began at her daycare in Choctaw.
You think what they would be 20 years later.
She was planning to head to downtown Oklahoma City and the Federal Building, where she had just opened the America's Kids daycare 3 weeks prior.
Usually I would go down and I would park my car underneath that building and wave at the kids in the windows. As I called them on the phone, would say, I'm coming, and I would honk the horn and wave at them in the windows.
A precious memory that faded in an instant. Melva's daughter called with word of an explosion at the Federal Building.
As we got down there, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't believe what was going on. Nothing prepares you for that. When I walked and finally turned the corner, it was like there wasn't a building. There wasn't a face on the building. There was no landmark that I remembered. I couldn't believe it was the building that I had been parking under and driving to. And where were my kids? I thought they were going to be safe.
The loss is unbearable. "19 lives taken inside the daycare, including the tiniest 15 victims. Scott Williams making a delivery, and 3 of Melva's daycare workers. Melva says 9 a.m. was Bible time, and that the body of Miss Wanda was found with a child and Bible in her lap.
The brothers. Where you saw one, you saw the other one.
Melva says she will never forget how each life touched her heart.
He was cute, always in overalls.
But she says there is one thing that still haunts her.
You know, when you tell someone, go ahead and go to work, Mom, they're going to be fine. They'll be here when you come home. And you can't tell them that anymore. It's just not the same.
A lonely road of anguish continued for Melva the day she realized she was a defendant in a lawsuit. Many of the daycare parents sued her.
People saying that I had the daycare open that day, that I know it was a terrorist day. When you have a contract with the federal, they tell you when to shut the doors and lock the doors. It's not something you can control. It's the store of the Murrah Building Daycare.
Forgiveness and healing have come for Melva and can be found through the pages of a book she has written, April Morning. Melva says God has carried her through the dark days, and she will never forget. She says there's only one place she wants to be on the 20-year remembrance of the bombing.
I'll be here reading the names. Reading the names.
Robin Marsh, News 9.
After 3 years of lawsuits, Melva Noakes says the judge threw out all the lawsuits against her. She says she has no ill feelings toward the parents who sued her.
The side of the federal building has been blown off.
April 19th, 1995.
If you are anywhere downtown, you've probably heard it and felt it.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
A day Oklahomans will never forget.
The explosion went off around 9 a.m.
It is chaos down here.
Emergency crews responding from everywhere.
168 of our friends and neighbors killed at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in downtown Oklahoma City. The largest homegrown terror attack in our nation's history. But that dark day dawned something new for our city and our state. The Oklahoma Standard. A resilience that has defined us in the hours, days, and nearly 2 decades since the blast. A resilience that will continue to define all of us in the days and years to come. Good evening. 20 years ago tonight, April 18th, 1995, was a normal, quiet night in our city. Hours later, though, everything changed when the bomb went off downtown. Tonight, on the eve of the 20th anniversary of the attack, we come together to remember.
We remember the victims whose stories have touched our lives, the rescue workers who worked tirelessly and heroically to save their friends and neighbors, and we remember the impact that day has had on all Oklahomans since.
The attack changed our state, and it changed all of us. We're asking you to share your stories from that day and how it touched your lives. Just use the hashtag OKStandard.
Over the next hour, we'll be sharing stories of some of those people we all came to know in the hours, days, and weeks following the bombing. We do begin tonight with the man at the helm during that time, Governor Frank Keating.
Governor Keating became the public face of the tragedy as he updated the public and asked for help dealing with the disaster. I sat down to talk with him 2 decades later.
You can't forget a searing time like that.
An explosion at 9 o'clock this morning in Oklahoma City.
On the morning of April 19, 1995, Governor Frank Keating had just returned from the Metro prayer breakfast when he got the word.
Somebody came rushing in and said there's apparently been a natural gas explosion at the Murrah Federal Office Building.
But when he saw the devastation with his own eyes, he knew otherwise. So you knew immediately this was an act of, some kind of act of terrorism.
Call me cynical or call me suspicious, but when I saw that, I said, you know, no, somebody blew that building up. We've got to, and it's filled with people. This is a bad deal.
Turns out his years of experience in law enforcement and gut instinct proved he was right. A parked rental truck full of explosives blew up in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, demolishing the entire north side of the building, killing 168 people, 19 of which were children. The explosion damaged or destroyed more than 300 buildings downtown. What was the first thing you did? Do you remember?
Well,
what was the first call you made?
Well, the first thing I did was get our senior team together. Then I went over to our command and control center, which is underneath the Capitol grounds, and talked to President Clinton. And he said, what do you need? And I said, I think everything.
In the days and weeks ahead, just over 12,000 volunteers and rescue workers helped in the rescue and recovery efforts.
You don't know if somebody is willing to risk himself or herself to save others, but Oklahomans did that.
Authorities arrested Timothy McVeigh in the bombing, a Gulf War veteran who sought revenge against the federal government. Were you surprised it was domestic terrorism?
What stunned me the most was that somebody who should know better, somebody who wanted to make a political statement, would kill 19 babies and a total of 168 of our neighbors and friends. I mean, what an evil, worthless piece of junk he is. I mean, that was my reaction.
The investigation resulted in the execution of McVeigh and a life sentence without parole for his accomplice, Terry Nichols. The surviving structure of the Murrah building was demolished in May of 1995. Today, the area is home to the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum, a place to honor the victims, survivors, and rescue workers. It is an amazing thing what has happened here, isn't it, over the last 20 years?
People were so enamored with the story of this city. We wish all those wonderful people were still here, but hopefully, out of evil good comes, and bad things make good people respond, and we certainly responded.
Definitely Oklahoma's finest moment. Governor Keating left office in 2003 and is currently the president of the American Bankers Association in Washington, D.C. He and the former First Lady, Kathy Keating, still spend quite a bit of time in the Sooner State.
After the bombing, Oklahomans came together in a sea of support. But one bombing survivor remembers 20 years later how one simple act of kindness touched her the most.
Time has a way of softening things.
Amy Downs worked as a teller at the Federal Employees Credit Union inside the Murrah Federal Building when the bomb went off.
I could hear people screaming all around.
She fell 3 floors, trapped under 3 feet of debris.
I just spoke with one of the rescue workers who has just come out of the federal building. He says that there is one woman who is in the basement. She's pinned in there.
She spent the next 6.5 hours buried alive as rescue workers worked carefully to free her.
I really was forced to think about my life and what I had done with it or not done with it.
Her leg severely injured. Downs spent 8 days in the hospital. While there, she remembers looking out of the window to an unforgettable sight.
It was the middle of the day, and what I saw was all the cars everyone with their headlights on.
Days after the bombing, a call went out for all Oklahomans to drive with their headlights on to show support and solidarity for the victims.
You know, it's such a very simple gesture, but for me, you know, having just gone through what I'd gone through, finding out one by one that 18 of my 33 coworkers were killed, and then seeing these strangers out on the road, driving with their headlights on, in that moment, it felt like it was for me.
When Downs got out of the hospital, she made some changes in her life, like going back to college and having a son. She even took charge of her health through cycling and running.
The first thing I see when I walk into the office every morning, and it just reminds me.
Downs still works for the same credit union where her 18 lost coworkers are honored in a memorial garden. And each year she runs in the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon to honor all of the victims.
When all those thousands of runners come downtown to run our marathon, it's like the cars are still driving with their headlights on. It's the statement, we won't forget.
We're asking you to join us to honor the victims from 20 years ago. As you're driving around town tomorrow, flip on your headlights. It's a small gesture that many used back in 1995, so we're doing it again. And be sure to join our conversation on social media using the hashtags OKStandard and LightsOnOKC.
When We Remember 20 Years Later returns, I sit down with some current and former News 9 reporters and anchors to talk about covering the bombing.
And later, it was one of the most heartbreaking parts of the attack. 15 children lost in the America's Kids Daycare Center. Robin Marsh sits down with the woman who ran that facility.
But even as a sobbing Daniel Holtzclaw was attempting to leave the courtroom, he appeared to mouth to the court, "I didn't do it."
Yes, on his 29th birthday, jurors say otherwise. They find him guilty on 18 of the 36 felony charges, and here's how it breaks down. Guilty on 6 counts of sexual battery, guilty on 4 counts of forcible sodomy, guilty on 3 counts of procuring lewd acts, guilty on 4 counts of first-degree rape, and 1 count of second-degree rape. And we have team coverage live from the courthouse. We start tonight with our News 9's Jolene Cheney. Jolene?
Yeah, Amanda, basically half of those 36 charges he was found guilty. The jury deliberating 45 hours. This is the 4th day. Let's take a look at some video as those charges were being read, or the counts there. One by one, the judge, he read all 36 counts against Daniel Holtzclaw. He was found, like you said, guilty of 18. He sobbed as he went before the judge. He sobbed all the way out of the courtroom as deputies walked him out in handcuffs. His family followed after, holding hands on their way out. Those victims, as well as people there supporting them, you could hear soft cries and muffled outbursts from people in the crowd, a bittersweet with each guilty, disappointment with each not guilty. And all this happened on Daniel Holtzclaw's birthday. Right now, the courthouse is being cleared so the judge as well as the jury can leave. Holtzclaw, he's already inside the Oklahoma County Jail right now, and Sheriff Wetzel says he's going to stay there until he has his formal sentencing that's coming up in January. Let's go now to Adriana Iwashinsky. Well, this is team coverage right here. And Adriana, you interviewed the woman who first reported this and basically blew all this out of the water.
Yeah, she has been waiting for this decision for a year and a half. She reported this crime back in June of 2014. She was the very first one to report it, and she was in the courtroom when this verdict was read. She sobbed along with her family inside, but she was so overcome with emotion she could not speak to anybody. She just cried and sobbed and was surrounded by those who loved her. Now, I was inside the courtroom when the jury read those 36 counts that the jury found him guilty and not guilty on, and there was an outburst of emotion from Daniel Holtzclaw and members of his family when the judge read that first guilty verdict. There was also uncontrollably loud sobbing coming from the first row where his family sat, especially when that first of 4 guilty verdicts on the rape charges were read. The jury recommended a sentence range of 5 years all the way up to 30 years on those rape charges, but it will be up to the judge to determine if they will be served concurrently or consecutively. We talked to DA David Prater after the verdict was read and Holtzclaw was led away.
We want to assure this community that the Oklahoma City Police Department did the right thing, the Oklahoma County DA's office did the right thing, the jury did the right thing, and we're going to ask the judge to make sure that this defendant never sees the light of day, and we're going to ask him to run consecutive every count.
And Holtzclaw's sentencing date has been set for January 21st. Reporting live in downtown Oklahoma City, Adriana Ivashinsky, News 9.
Thanks, Adriana. The Oklahoma City Police Department, Holtzclaw's former employer, was quick to respond tonight. Their statement says, in part, we are proud of our detectives and prosecutors for a job well done. To the jury, we thank you for your service. We are satisfied with the jury's decision and firmly believe justice was served.
And we have much more coverage in this huge case on News9.com and on the News 9 app. Welcome back. Past the hustle and bustle of city living, some old cowboys proudly carry on a tradition.
Our Carl Torp shows us what's helping to keep them young in this week's Red Dirt Diaries.
Hey, Ray. Today you don't get serious.
Outside Geary.
As long as you're on a horse, you can't be doing anything wrong.
This law-abiding group carries on a tradition. Older than some of the trails it rides.
It's relaxing. You get your mind off from everything, it seems to me like.
We go down through here and we might stop and talk, and we catch up on everything that goes along.
Since 1999.
One time there was 20 of us, I think.
Every Tuesday morning, the men exchange howdies and handshakes.
And if you can't take a joke, stay at home.
And prepare for the highlight of their week.
Every one of these guys have been riding since they're kids.
So for at least 2 to 3 hours in the morning, these men feel like kids again.
And you gotta have laughter.
Marshall Baker has been bringing Princess for years.
She's my sweetheart.
At 79, he's not ashamed of the nickname this group has earned over time.
Well, if you want to know, they call us the old fort.
Almost all the members of this riding group are in their 70s and 80s.
They've been keeping you busy?
Oh, yeah, but it don't take much. Through the brush and blisters, though, a friendship stronger than a shared passion for riding has formed.
So to those people. You brought a booger with you.
Marshall hopes for him the weekly rides will last until the very end.
Well, I hope I die on that horse, or while I'm riding, just fall off dead.
Until then,
the view looking down across there is absolutely great.
The group sets out to prove there's nothing like taking in the views.
They are the best.
On horseback, with your closest pals, never far behind. In Geary, with the old farts, Carl Torp, News 9.
It's time to thunder up. The Oklahoma City Thunder now less than an hour from the first tip-off of the season, albeit the preseason. The team will hit the court in Minneapolis for their preseason opener against the Timberwolves. News 9 Thunder reporter Steve McGee, he is live at the Target Center. He gets to go to every Thunder game this year. That's a sweet gig, Steve.
One down, many more to go here. The last time Oklahoma City played here at the Target Center, Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka were no-shows. But the good news here, they are here in town, ready to start and play tonight against the Timberwolves. For Kevin, sure, it's just an exhibition game, but this game tonight has some extra meaning to it.
First day camp, I've just been trying to just grind out with my teammates and try not to think about me being injured. You know, I was just wanted to pick up where I left off, really. And but I haven't played an NBA game in a long time. Just like these guys haven't played in a long time either. But so I kind of look at it like that and try not to put too much pressure on myself.
And I know what that feels like to be out for a long period of time and kind of sitting back and watching your teammates, play without going out there to be able to help them. So him just coming out tonight and trying to find his rhythm and kind of get back to the swing of things is always great.
Billy Donovan says Russ and KD will play between 18 to 22 minutes tonight, some in the first half and some in the second half. The game will not be on TV, so I'll put the camera on my shoulder here and send us back some, hopefully some great highlights coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Much more on the Thunder coming up in sports. In Minneapolis, rolling with the Thunder, Steve McGehee, News 9.
Well, it is another big game for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and KD, Russ, and the rest of the starting five are ready. A win tonight maintains our winning record. But the big question is, will we see the same guys that played Sunday night at home?
I hope so, because it worked pretty well. So now it's time to find out where Steve has gone in his fancy Little Tykes plane tonight. He's the only reporter to go to every game, home and away, and now he takes us to the nation's capital. Hey, Steve.
And, of course, that fancy pilot, once again, yesterday we went to Houston first, then on to D.C. I guess my talk with him didn't count at all. It's a homecoming game for Durant. Of course, he's excited to play in front of family and friends tonight here at the Verizon Center. And I would imagine he is glad he is done with the mob scene that was this morning after practice. About 35 to 40 reporters dealing with free agency questions. The Wizards, of course, would like to make a major push for him in the offseason if he's available.
It means a lot coming back playing here, you know, because I remember as a kid catching the train down here to watch, you know, Wizards, Mystics, and Georgetown play all the time, and to be able to walk on that court as an NBA player, you know, it shows the, you know, the journey that I've been on. You know, I just try to go about every day and just focus on that day, you know, not try to think about the future too much.
And how will you balance your heart versus business when you make that decision?
I haven't thought about that. You know, like I said, I'll worry about that when I get there, man. I'm just excited I get another opportunity to play in the NBA again tonight and play against a great team.
And the Wizards have two great guards in Bradley Beal and John Wall. They're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. We'll see if KD can put on a show tonight at the Verizon Center and come back to Oklahoma City with the victory. Much more on this game. Post-game report coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Kelly, back to you.
Oklahoma's own News 9 in high definition.
Trooper Nicholas Dees. It's a name that was unknown to most Oklahomans until an accident took his life in January.
But now his name lives on as an example of texting and driving dangers. Justin Doherty talks to Brandy Dees about the life and legacy of her husband, only on 9.
Whether at home in shorts with his two little girls, or on patrol in his perfectly pressed uniform,
he would polish that brass for an hour or two before he had to go to work.
Nick Dees' wife, Brandy, knew no matter where he was loved.
He has an amazing heart, like he loves people. I always say he could be friends with the tree.
That comfort in who Nick was makes all that happened a little easier for Brandy.
His faith was very important. I promise you, I know where he's at right now.
See, Nick is no longer able to meet his family at Mazzio's on his lunch break, no longer able to take his daughters Claire and Piper to piano lessons, and no longer able to live his dreams of being a father.
He loved those girls.
And a second-generation Oklahoma highway patrolman.
He was meant to be a trooper. From the moment I met him, that's what he talked about. He was going to be a trooper. I knew that.
Brandy and Nick also knew that every day he put on that uniform, the unexpected could happen at any moment.
If he would have known that this was going to happen, I believe he still would have done the same job.
How often do you think about January 31st?
Not very often.
That's because on that night, just 4 hours after Brandy spoke to Nick on the phone, he was killed in the line of duty. Dashcam video from that night captures Nick's final moments as he and his partner Keith Birch inspect a jackknifed semi on I-40 in Seminole County. When the camera goes black, that's when a distracted driver drove straight through emergency lights and hit the two troopers going 65 miles per hour, severely injuring Trooper Birch and killing Trooper Dees. Not long after, Brandy and her family woke to a knock at the door.
We were all just kind of in shock. And then you don't know what to do. You just sit there, there's nothing you can do.
Days later, all those people Nick loved showed their love. Thousands poured into Broken Bow to lay the fallen hero to rest. Then Brandy knew there was something she could do.
I'm not angry like I'm holding resentment, but I just feel like it could have been prevented. Maybe we could save someone else's life and someone else's won't have to lose their father.
So Brandy worked with lawmakers and the governor. In less than 4 months, Brandy accomplished what some state leaders have been trying to do for years. Effective November 1st, texting and driving will be banned in Oklahoma, thanks to a law honoring Birch and Dees.
Today, we're passing, I think, one of the most significant pieces of legislation for highway safety.
We did a good thing that day.
A good thing for a good-hearted man.
He was a normal person, a dad and a husband, and he was our hero. We loved him.
That was Justin Doherty reporting.
This is Oklahoma's own News 9 in high definition.
Right now on 9.
I've seen a lot of tragedy. I've seen a lot of destruction, but this was the most heartbreaking thing I think I've ever seen.
Oklahoma reeling after a weekend of tragedy in Stillwater. 4 people killed, others fighting to survive and heal.
It's just a horrific event and one you're never prepared for.
While the suspect sits in jail on $1 million bond, her family reveals more about her mental state.
I've done all I could do as a father. I didn't know where else to turn.
Good evening. Glad you're with us tonight. And right now, we can tell you a 5th victim injured when Adacia Chambers slammed into the OSU homecoming parade is not doing well. Already, 4 people have died, and Chambers is locked up on complaints of second-degree murder. As News 9's Jessica Holly reports tonight, Chambers is said to have had a history of mental trouble. Jess?
That's right, and the judge is allowing in this case to have a doctor perform a psychological evaluation on Chambers. Formal charges filed by the district attorney's office are being given a 10-day extension.
Something has happened. I don't know what. Because the night before she was fine.
But just as the Oklahoma State homecoming parade came to an end Saturday, investigators say Adacia Chambers ran a red light, went around a police barricade, then ran into the crowd. Chambers attorney Tony Coleman says alcohol was not a factor. He's requested a doctor to perform a full psychological evaluation on his client to determine if a mental illness can be diagnosed.
I said, listen, you are aware that 4 people have been killed. In her response, her look on the face was just blank.
This afternoon, a doctor began one of several visits with Chambers. Her father admits to taking her to a mental hospital to seek treatment, but says she was quickly released.
I took her to another place when she got out of there, and I've done all I could do as a father. I didn't know where else to turn.
Chambers' defense attorney says it's too soon to comment on a defense strategy, but if Chambers pleads not guilty by reason of insanity, defense attorney Mac Martin says with that defense, it's often hard to convince a jury.
You have to admit, this is what I did, but I did it because I didn't understand, appreciate, and know the difference between right or wrong. You're dealing with horrible, horrible facts that nobody wants that person back out on the street.
Chambers' next scheduled court appearance is November 13th. Live in the newsroom, Jessica Holly, News 9.
All right, Jess. There is only one person that we know of at this point who had a camera rolling as the tragedy unfolded Saturday morning. 17-year-old Connor Gecko was visiting family in Stillwater. She spoke with News 9's Robin Marsh via FaceTime and said she was stunned by what she saw.
For every time I would think about it happening, it didn't feel like it really happened, and then I'd go back and watch the video, and it's that's something that people try to make in the movies. That's something that doesn't happen in real life.
By the way, Connor's video has been turned over to Stillwater Police. New tonight, we have learned Oklahoma City Mayor Mick Cornett has a personal connection to Saturday's tragedy. His niece is one of the 46 people who were hurt. She is still in the hospital right now. News 9's Steve Shaw is here with this story tonight. Steve?
Kelly, Mayor Cornett's niece, Kelly Murphy, was one of the critically injured when Stillwater police say Adacia Chambers plowed into that crowd. The mayor says today he's actually breathing a sigh of relief.
Kelly was struck from behind, just below the knee, and both of her legs were broken.
Mayor Mick Cornett says while his niece, Kelly Hal Murphy, was flown to a Tulsa hospital Saturday for emergency surgeries, today's a better day.
The doctors are optimistic that in a few months, she's going to be okay. And so we're clinging to those words and asking for prayer.
Cornett says his niece lives in Stillwater and works in administration at OSU. He says his niece was handing out candy to the crowd, and her elementary-age daughter was riding on her school float nearby when the unthinkable occurred.
Just a horrific event, and one you're never prepared for.
Thankfully, Kelly Murphy's daughter's school float was not hit by the car. Police say 25-year-old Adacia Chambers was driving.
We're grateful for the fact that people seem to have a plan of action in place. I mean, the way they dispersed the critically injured to the best medical centers in the state, I think it gives me a little bit of reassurance that we do a very good job of reacting to very large-scale, unplanned emergencies.
Any thoughts about the person responsible?
No, not really.
Mayor Cornett says any judgments he makes about this tragedy will wait until the state, legal, and medical system sorts it out. Steve Shaw, News 9.
All right, Steve. News 9 storm tracker Val Castor was actually in the parade with his family Saturday when the crash happened. Today, he spent time visiting some of the victims hospitalized at Stillwater Medical Center. He continues our coverage.
I've seen a lot. You know, being a storm chaser for 25 years for Channel 9, I've seen devastation. I see what tornadoes do. I've seen a lot of tragedy. But I got to tell you, this was absolutely the worst thing I've seen. It was heartbreaking. But the scene today was one of recovery. I went to the hospital, Stillwater Medical Center, and visited with two of the victims, which, by the way, were recovering nicely at this point. They were very thankful just to be alive, and they were very thankful for all the quick response that from the rescue workers from Stillwater Medical Center. They had nothing but high things to say about them. The people of Oklahoma, I mean, they're just so good about pulling together. They're so unselfish. They drop what they're doing. They do what they can to help. Even after the fact, donations come in and offers for help come in. It's a great place to live.
OSU athletes and also Oklahoma City Thunder star Kevin Durant all took time out to visit OU Children's Hospital today. The family of 6-year-old Hadley Wyatt, who had some bleeding on her brain, posted this picture today. She's looking better, and tonight they tell us she has been discharged and is back home, so we're glad for Hadley. The crash claimed the lives of 4 people. They are 2-year-old Nash Lucas, whose mother works for OSU. Also, University of Central Oklahoma MBA student Nikita Nicole, and Bonnie and Marvin Stone, longtime members of the OSU family working for the university for decades. This event has changed the lives of so many people. One of the surviving victims is a woman from Oologah, the hometown of the suspect, Adacia Chambers. Her story's still ahead, along with reaction from Chambers' boyfriend, what he says about the time he spent with her before the crash. By the way, tomorrow you can wear OSU orange in a showing of solidarity. A moment of silence will be held on the campus at OSU OKC, 10:30 tomorrow morning. We also have much more coverage of the OSU homecoming tragedy online at news9.com. Now, some other news tonight, tracking crime. A contraband care package carried by a drone crashes on the grounds of the state penitentiary in McAllister. The Department of Corrections says the package was filled with hacksaw blades, a phone, cigarettes, cigars, super glue, and drugs. It apparently hit the fence and was discovered by the staff there at Big Mac, the penitentiary in McAllister. 4 people arrested when law enforcement finds 34 pounds of marijuana and a gun in 2 separate cars. Oklahoma City Police and Highway Patrol pulled over 2 drivers they believed were traveling together from New Mexico. Police say they found several bundles of pot in one vehicle and a handgun in the other. News since 6 o'clock. Check this out. The Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics shared this photo today on Facebook. An agent found these 2 marijuana pipes on the ground in Bricktown. So they posted it, and the post says if you'd like to claim them, you can call OBN at 1-800-522-8031. Indicted Tulsa County Sheriff Stanley Glanz will keep his gun and his badge upon his retirement. A group called We the People disagrees with the commissioner's decision, but the sheriff's office is standing up for Glanz.
It just reminds me of that saying from Seabiscuit, you know, just because you lose a few races doesn't mean you throw your whole life away. Well, the same thing has happened here, I think, with him. You don't throw away 50 years of protecting us because of what's happened.
A grand jury indicted Glanz last month, asking for his resignation following a reserve deputy's accidental killing of a suspect. Happening now, a fugitive from North Carolina is now in jail in our state thanks to Canadian County Sheriff's deputies. They stopped Kevin Schuster for driving a stolen car. We're told Schuster is the primary suspect in a rape and kidnapping in North Carolina. New developments here. A judge will determine whether Alton Nolan is competent to stand trial for beheading a woman at the Vaughn Foods plant in Moore. A psychologist says Nolan wants to be executed and refuses to assist his attorneys with his defense. Prosecutors say Nolan's competency has never been questioned and shouldn't be now. Coming up next on News 9, a community torn by homecoming heartbreak. They pray for one of their own to heal from critical injuries and for the suspect who they watched grow up.
Folks, today it was beautiful across Oklahoma, completely dry, but hang on, our next big storm is still thousands of miles away, but it's headed directly towards Oklahoma. Will Halloween be wet? Your forecast coming up.
And Bedlam Brotherhood, my 2 cents coming up. Also, your chance to enter to win a free storm shelter is coming up after the break.
You're watching Oklahoma's own News 9 in high definition.
The community of Oologah is rallying around one of the victims of the OSU homecoming tragedy. Sherry Bates is in critical condition. She lives in the same town where the crash suspect grew up. And people who know both families tell News 9's Katira Winfrey it's heartbreak for everyone involved.
Jesse Gaylord says he's known Adacia Chambers since high school. He says they were childhood sweethearts. He went to court with her today and says he doesn't believe she was under the influence of anything.
I know that there's no way she was drunk or impaired. Yeah, no drugs whatsoever. She just wasn't that type of person.
Gaylord says he started dating Chambers when they both went to Oologah High School. He says she's not the monster she's being made out to be.
She's one of the kindest, soft-spoken, caring people you'll ever meet.
Not only is Oologah Chambers' hometown, it's also where Sherry Bates, one of the victims, lives. She's still in critical condition.
I think first and foremost that we need to pray for all the families that are involved.
Steve Savage is the CEO of Lakeside State Bank. He works just down the hall from Bates. He says everyone is missing her warm personality. All day customers have been asking how she's doing.
This morning, every customer that's come in has asked about Sherry. You know, everybody seems to know what's happened and everybody's concerned.
He says it's a lot to take in, and in moments like this, it's best to just pray.
You have to allow enough time for the facts to come in and for people not to prejudge. It sounds like just a horrific accident. I think we should. You know, I think the voice of reason is let's find out what really happened here.
Katira Winfrey, News 9.
And now, my 2 cents with Kelly Ogle.
As one of 3 boys, I know a lot about brothers. And one thing I know for sure is that brothers want to beat each other. But I also know brothers have each other's back. And it's like that with OSU and OU too. When the unthinkable happened to the Cowboy family this weekend during the parade in Stillwater, the Sooner family rallied to their side. OU leaders expressed their sorrow and concern in person and on social media. At the OU Texas Tech game, the crowd of 90,000 in Norman fell silent out of respect to the victims of the accident. Then, in a touching show of support, the Pride of Oklahoma band carried an Oklahoma State University flag onto the field. And in another poignant moment yesterday, the OU choir broke from their planned homecoming program to pay tribute to their brothers and sisters in Stillwater by singing the OSU alma mater. classy, and well done, Sooner Nation. I'm Kelly Ogle, and that's my 2 cents.
And now, your weather with Oklahoma's own David Payne.
All right, Oklahoma looking good out there tonight. Nice and quiet across our state currently. And kind of give you an update here. The rain last week, it was good so far. This month in Oklahoma City, 1.52 inches of rain, still well below normal by a lot. And so far this year, though, remember, think back to what we had last spring and this past summer. Yeah, we are still over a foot above normal on rainfall, even though the drought continues to kind of sneak back in. We put a dent in the drought last week, and we're going to put another dent in the drought a little bit later on, so hang on. Big storm in the southeast. This was Patricia. This is some of the energy from Patricia, and it's almost drifting due north tonight. It's kind of lifting to the north here. A lot of rain going on. There's been a lot of flooding. Texas, a lot of flood warnings still going on down there. Some places had over 20 inches of rain over the weekend, huh? How about that? But this is, again, drifting north. Could kick up a few showers tonight in eastern Oklahoma. Our next storm's in Colorado. It's a fast mover. That'll come out across Oklahoma tonight and tomorrow morning and give you folks in the northwest slight chance for a sprinkle out of that. It's later down the week. It's just down the road just a bit when our next stronger storm will come on in. Air Comfort Skycam Network. Nice shot here from our American Fidelity camera looking off to the north. 56 degrees in Oklahoma City with a light northeast wind now at about 7 miles per hour. Our dew point is at 50, and that continues to slowly kind of hold its own, but it'll start to creep up a little bit more tomorrow. We already have some 40s in our state and a lot of 50s. How about a 47 right now in Altus, 49 in Ponca City, 63 in Miami. Much warmer in eastern Oklahoma. Cloud cover over here beginning to thicken up. 46 in Alva and a 50 right now in Woodward. So tomorrow morning, not as cold as this morning. This morning, a lot of frost in the north and west, even a few places having their first light freeze this morning. Storm system for tonight in the morning. That's the first one. That's for, again, overnight tonight through tomorrow morning. The next one comes out for tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. That'll be that one. That's stronger. That'll shove a front through here. And then our next storm, watch it take shape. So the storm to our east finally pulls on out, all right? Here comes the next one. This storm now is over the Pacific. It gets here Thursday night, overnight, into Friday. Friday right now looks very wet, and then it's going to kind of hold back. That's the plan. We get a break in the rain. Cross your fingers. On Saturday, slight chance for showers on Saturday, which, of course, is Halloween. And then the main storm comes out on Sunday with a chance for more rain, at least some scattered showers. And then the second storm for the middle of next week drops in, reloads, and here we go again. Rain back in here. It's a good pattern. Rainfall amounts, 1 to 2 inches out of the event on Friday. Some places might see a little more than that. Overnight tonight, lows in the 40s, 50s, a lot of 50s off in eastern Oklahoma, a light northeast breeze. Showers way over here near the Arkansas border, a few showers in our northwestern counties. Highs tomorrow in the upper 60s to low 70s, light winds. Tomorrow looks pretty good. South breeze will pick up a little bit in the afternoon, but not a big deal. And tomorrow, slight chance for showers in the north, better chance in the far east. Tomorrow in Oklahoma City at 7 a.m., 49 degrees. By noon, a 63. And by 5 p.m., how about a 69? So really, tomorrow, not bad. Southwest breeze will pick up into the afternoon. There's that next little small storm system, 30% chance for showers Wednesday morning. Thursday, a high of 70. All right, so we're going to cool it off again a little bit Wednesday, warming back up Thursday. Look at Friday, 90% chance of rain on Friday. Sure looks wet. 1 to 2 inches of rain. Right now, Saturday, 20% chance for rain with a high of 66. Of course, Saturday is Halloween, and then Sunday, daylight saving time ends. Roll the clocks back. Middle of next week, next Wednesday, here comes that second big storm. We're tracking it. Kelly, back to you.
All right, David. Well, here you go. Here is your chance to win a flat, safe storm shelter. Text the word thunder to 79640. Thunder. You'll have another chance to win tomorrow on News 9 this morning. Coming up, Joe Mixon speaks publicly for the first time since arriving on campus at OU. Stick around for that. Sports is next.
Driven by your Oklahoma Ford dealers, this is News 9 Sports with Dean Blevins.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Midwest Sports Desk. Joe Mixon was interviewed for the first and apparently only time this season yesterday when he and Samaje Perine joined Bob Stoops and me on the coach's playback show. Stoops had not allowed any media access since Mixon's year-long suspension following a campus altercation last summer.
I'm asked a lot about, how Joe interacts with his teammates and how exuberant he is, and I thought that's a great example to see how he how the two guys get along, Samaje and Joe, having them on together at the same time.
You ever have a conversation who's blocking for who?
No. We basically just tell each other, like, either follow me or it's going to be open right here or look for the cutback lane. Everything is slowing down for me. You know, basically just taking it 1 week at a time, and then from there on out, you know, we just progress every week. We complement each other, like Coach Stu said, and, you know, week to week, we just keep on building and getting better and feeding off of each other, and that's just what's going to keep happening.
201 yards and 4 touchdowns against Tech earns Pirine Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. 50 OSU athletes, including some 15 football players, visited homecoming crash victims in hospitals today. On the field, the Cowboys head to Lubbock to take on a staggering Texas Tech club Saturday. The undefeated Pokes are led by an impressive combination in the backfield.
More often than not, teams who consistently switch quarterbacks within games tend to struggle. But at OSU, Mason Rudolph and J.W. Walsh share the load so far with a lot of success.
I've never been a fan of using 2 quarterbacks, but I am now. Nobody has said a word about why is J.W. on there, why is Mason in there. If it's the right players, it's working for us.
The pattern goes something like this. Rudolph finding receivers to get the Cowboys close before Walsh finishes off drives many times with his feet. One big reason it works, the sophomore and senior's maturity.
They both do a good job, and they just, they put out a sense of confidence for the offense.
Rudolph and Walsh have combined for 24 touchdowns this season, more than Cowboy quarterbacks accounted for all of last year. It's a formula OSU will rely on again this Saturday at Texas Tech. In Stillwater, I'm John Holcomb, News 9 Sports.
Thank you, John. Media Day for OSU basketball in Stillwater. The Cowboys picked to finish 7th in the Big 12. Senior Phil Forte is the team leader. He says OSU may not have a star like Marcus Smart or LeBron Nash, but this year, this team chemistry is off the charts.
The group of guys that we have right now, really excited about. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that we have the most, talent, NBA-wise, on draft boards and stuff, but definitely the closest team that I've played on up to this point.
Thunder meeting with victims from this weekend's homecoming tragedy in Stillwater when we're back in a flash.
The Midwest Sports Desk is brought to you by Midwest Hose and Specialty, the quality you trust and the service you rely on. Midwest Hose, keeping the industry connected.
Earlier, we showed you Kevin Durant visiting one of the victims of the OSU homecoming tragedy. A group of Thunder players also met with affected families at OU Medical Center. Nick Collison, Andre Robertson, Mitch McGarry, Cameron Payne, and Anthony Morrow trying to help ease the pain.
It's something I definitely, wanted to do since it happened Saturday. So I'm just going to continue to pray for him. I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to come up here and shake some hands.
I was in Norman most of the day, and all the flags I saw were at half-staff all around town. And
really good people.
Yeah.
Good people all across the state, been very supportive.
Absolutely.
You bet. All right. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.